Hare Krishna Maharaj. How are you, Maharaj?
Yes, I'm okay, Prabhu. Thank you. I hope. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, we can begin.
Just 2 minutes, Maharaj. I'll say a few words, then we can start. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to this class of Bhakti on the level of Bhakti Vaibhava, Module 1, Unit 6, which you will be studying second Canto, Chapter 1 to 5. There are 5 classes, which happens every Tuesday and Thursday. And first of all, congratulations for joining this course. And we are all fortunate because to teach this unit, we have with us His Holiness Vigna Vinashaka Narasimha Swami Maharaj. You know Maharaj, he needs no introduction, but for our purification, just I'll say a few words. Maharaj joined movement in 1971, and he got initiated by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada in London. The next year he got second initiation. Maharaj preaching extensively in all these countries. Later on, Maharaj took sannyasa diksha from His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And Maharaj is the personification of the verse Trinadapi Suni Jena. Maharaj is so humble, you will realize as the class progresses. And Maharaj is great contributor to our Mayapur Institute, and Maharaj teaches in all the levels like Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, and even Bhakti Vedanta. So we are fortunate to have with him, and so these devotees make use of Maharaj. Okay, thank you, Maharaj. Over to you. Thanks for accepting our invitation. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Om Jnanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksuranmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakopa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhai Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, let's see. Okay, so welcome everyone to our Bhakti Vaibhava. Here you can see we're covering the second canto. This is something a bit out of line with what we're studying, but I thought it would be nice for us to hear something from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is from the song by Lord Shiva. My dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like two blossoming petals of the lotus flower, which grows during the autumn season. Indeed, the nails of your lotus feet emanate such a great effulgence that they immediately dissipate all the darkness in the heart of a conditioned soul. My dear Lord, kindly show me that form of yours which always dissipates all kinds of darkness in the heart of a devotee. My dear Lord, you are the supreme spiritual master of everyone. Therefore, all conditioned souls covered with the darkness of ignorance can be enlightened by you as the spiritual master. So that's the fourth canto, chapter 24, text 52. All right. So a little note about the importance of the first two cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada has written, everyone serious about understanding the transcendental science and seeing the transcendental form of the Lord must first of all attempt to see the lotus feet of the Lord by studying the first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. When one sees the lotus feet of the Lord, all kinds of doubts and fears within the heart are vanquished. So important for us to study carefully the first two cantos. Actually, Prabhupada wrote the first canto before Prabhupada went to America. He'd already published the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So at that time, he didn't really know how much time he would get and how many more books he'd be able to publish. He wasn't sure about his financial situation. He had no disciples, he had no supporters. Somehow he'd managed to publish the first canto. And so he put everything he could in there. He really filled it with a lot of nectar. Okay, so now we're going on to the second canto here. That was a quote from the fourth canto, by the way. Okay, here's a quick overview of the first canto.
Recording in progress.
First canto, what you covered, began with Sutta Goswami's welcome to the sages in the Naimisharanya forest. The first three chapters like that. You had questions by the sages in the first chapter, and then you have the devotional service summarized, and then all the different incarnations in the third chapter. Then chapters 4 to 6, you have Narada Muni instructs Srila Vyasadeva. And then chapter 7 up to 16, we have the disappearance of Krishna and his associates. That means we have grandfather Bhishma departed, we had Dhritarashtra departed, and then you had the Pandavas, a fratricidal war. They all annihilated, all the members of the Yadu dynasty annihilated each other. And then Lord Krishna also departed from the world, and then the Pandavas retired. So that was all there in chapters 7 up to 16. And then at the end of the first canto, you have the meeting of Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami, right? With the appearance of Maharaj Parikshit, the curse of Maharaj Parikshit, and then he meets with Sukadeva Goswami. So that was the first canto, and then now we're into the second canto, and the second canto begins with first 3 steps to God realization. Chapters 1, 2, and 3, we'll hear 3 steps to God realization. You're familiar with the 3 levels of God realization. There's the impersonal Brahman, the Paramatma, and then the Bhagavan. So they're described in the first 3 chapters. Then chapters 4 and 5, questions by Parikshit, and then prayers by Sukadev. The process of creation is spoken by Brahma to Narad. And chapter 6 and 7 goes on. You have the Purusha Sukta confirmed. You have Lord Brahma's realization of the universal form and Leela incarnations. Chapters 8 and 9, more questions by Maharaj Parikshit. And then the Chaturslokis there in the 9th chapter. And then 10th chapter, we have explanations of the Chatursloki. And Sukadeva Goswami will also begin the 10th chapter describing the 10 topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's a quick overview of the 2nd canto. And we're on the 1st chapter tonight, the first step in God realization. And the chapter begins with some very powerful preaching from Sukadeva Goswami. He's stressing about the best use of human life. It's very, very powerful speaking. And then chapter goes on into Bhakti Mishra Yoga. Sukadeva Goswami will introduce contemplating the universal form. Then chapter 2 is more about Paramatma, the Lord in the heart, detachment, meditation on the super soul, achieving the Sum destination, and attraction for Krishna. Then chapter 3, pure devotional service, a change in heart. Krishna is the ultimate object of worship, and Sonaka Rishi's eagerness for hearing Krishna Katha. All right, so we're going back, chapter 4. Okay, more questions like that, cause of cause, yeah. These are the main topics. Okay, we'll be covering those in time. Let's go back. The connection between the 1st and 2nd canto we should understand. So at the end of the 1st canto, in chapter 19, text 24, we have Maharaj Parikshit speaking. O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die. Right? So that's the obvious connection there between the 1st and 2nd canto, that Maharaj Parikshit wants to know what is the duty of those who are just about to die. And there's another verse here. That was from 19th chapter, it was text number 24, and there's another nice verse which is from the same chapter, but text 37 and 38. Maharaj Parikshit is addressing the audience, all the great sages and devotees. You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. So this was Maharaj Parikshit's request to Sukadeva Goswami, which came at the end there of the 1st canto. So the 2nd canto begins with Sukadeva Goswami glorifying the question of Maharaj Parikshit. Right? The first verse of the 2nd canto begins like that your questions are glorious because it's about Krishna. And the term is there, Loka Hitam. Loka Hitam means beneficial for everyone, for the whole world. So Here's from Prabhupada's lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam. This was lecturing on second canto, first chapter, verses 1 to 5, when Prabhupada was in Melbourne in 1974. So Prabhupada says, question was about Krishna, and the reply is Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses. One verse, one question, right? One question, what is the duty of one who's about to die? And the reply is Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses. And each and every verse is so important that if a serious student studies each and every verse, each verse will take at least 1 month to understand. Right? And there are 18,000 verses. So, for serious study of Srimad Bhagavatam, it will take 18,000 months. So 18,000 months, meaning how many years? 1,500 years. Okay, so I hope we have a long life. We need to be blessed with a long life in order to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. 1,500 years. All right, so Sukadeva Goswami uses this term, lokahitam, that this question about Krishna is beneficial for the whole world, for all men. Everyone benefits. All the audience, the person who asks the question benefits, the person who's going to reply, who's going to give the answer, he benefits. The audience all benefit, everyone there. So this is the nature of topics of Krishna, that they're fully transcendental and they benefit the whole world. And we want to understand the importance of topics of Krishna. Prabhupada, then this is from a Vrindavan lecture on the first verse of the second canto. Vrindavan, the same year, 1974, Prabhupada is quoted saying, because this Bhagavata is so nice, transcendental subject matter, discussed about Krishna, it is lokahitam. It should be spread all over the world. Loka does not mean your country or your society. Brahmana society, Goswami society. You can see Prabhupada speaking in Vrindavan, so it's a different audience. So Prabhupada speaking about these things. Brahmana society, Goswami society. No, lokahitam, for the benefit of the whole world. That is lokahitam. Not only of this world, but other worlds also. Of the whole universe. Lokahitam Nripa, my dear king, your prashna. So this message of Srimad Bhagavatam should be spread all over the world. So this is Prabhupada preaching in Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, telling everyone the Bhagavatam is meant for the whole world. Okay, so very nice to hear. Yeah, here's, you can see the Ganga flowing past the Prabhupada's Pushpa Samadhi there in Mayapur. The topics of Lord Krishna are so auspicious that they purify the speaker, the hearer, and the inquirer. They are compared to the Ganges water, which flow from the toe of Lord Krishna. Wherever the Ganges waters go, They purify the land and the person who bathes in them. Similarly, the topics of Krishna are so pure that wherever they are spoken, the place, the hearer, the inquirer, the speaker, and all concerned become purified. From the purport of the first verse. Actually, before that first verse, there's the invocation to Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I remember one time, I was in Dallas, in Texas, and Prabhupada was giving Bhagavatam class. At that time, we had Gurukula there in Dallas, Texas, and there were a number of young children. So Prabhupada was giving Bhagavatam class, and we read Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and then Prabhupada immediately turned to the children and he asked them, so, what is the meaning? He immediately put the children on the spot, The children were like 5, 6, 7, 8, like that, very young children. But Prabhupada was questioning them. He wanted to know, what is the meaning? He said, you are chanting, you have to know the meaning. It was very interesting how Prabhupada was training all of us, the children, everyone, wanted us all to know what we were doing, what we were saying. Didn't want us just to be parrots. Okay. Devotional consciousness contrasts the consciousness of illusion. Oh, all right. So Sukadeva Goswami begins speaking there about the questions, very nice, and then he immediately begins to talk about how there's different kinds of householders. Now there's the grihastas and there are the grihamedis. So devotional consciousness contrasts the consciousness of illusion. Okay? The grihamedis, they're in illusion, but the devotees, they have a different consciousness. So we would ask you, you can look through text number 2 and 3 and 4 if you like, 2 and 3 particularly, and tell me some of the symptoms of grihamedis. We will ask you, please tell me some symptoms of the grihamedi. Give me one symptom at a time. Do you want to do it in a group work, or I think we could just take it from the class, you can offer. Griha Medi. Griha meaning home, and Medi meaning, what's the meaning?
Householder, Guru Maharaj.
No.
Medi means jealous or enviousness.
Envy.
One is to
Envy, right, envious or jealous, okay, yes.
one is too much engrossed into the family affairs, too much, his whole attraction is towards the family and the members of the family.
Yes. It's only interest, okay? Is that wrong? Mariji, is that wrong?
But they are too much engrossed into it. It says that you can be engrossed in your family, but it is not that they do not think to offer everything to Krishna. It is only that they are engrossed in the family affairs.
Yes, right. They have no interest in what?
in the devotional service.
Right. They have no interest in spiritual life or devotional service. Okay? And so they're very attached to the family. Yes? Some more quality. Yes?
And they are jealous of one another.
Yes, jealous of each other. Constant quarreling and fighting. The home never peaceful. You always hear people arguing and fighting with each other. Constant bickering and quarreling going on.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Most of the time they pass their night in sleeping, and then in the morning they try to make more money in the name of maintaining their family members.
Yes.
They are either engrossed in too much of sleeping, or they are engrossed in making money to maintain their family.
Yes. They're very eager, work very hard to make money. They will never think you have enough money. They'll always want more. And at night,
Krishna Maharaj,
yes, yes.
They are in sense gratification, into sense gratification, satisfying their own senses. Busy in satisfying their own senses.
Yes. How are they satisfying their senses?
Because whatever they are doing for themselves. They don't think that they have to offer it first to Krishna and then accept it.
Okay. They do acts only for their own pleasure of their own bodies. They don't offer anything for the Lord. Well, they may do. They may offer their food for the Lord, but they won't distribute it to others. If they do offer it, they offer it for them. They offer it to the Lord for themselves, for their own benefit. So they may be pious in the sense that they're religious, but their religious piety is for their own benefit, for their own sense gratification. So that is also Grihamedi. They can be religious, but they're religious just for material benefit, for their own gain. Yes? Any more symptoms?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. They are interested in various material subject matters, like politics or science or other things, but not in self-realization.
Yes, right. They have a lot of material interests, right? They have many subject matters for hearing and chanting, but they won't like to hear Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. They are not following any scriptural injunctions.
They don't follow any scriptural injunctions. Well, some Grihamedis they may do. They may follow some injunctions. They may be pious. You know, they can be vegetarian and they can be, you know, they may not take intoxication and so on. But, so in that sense, they have some material piety. But it's material. The purpose is for their own benefit. They don't do it for Krishna. They just think, oh, yeah. You know, I met one man, he regretted that he was a vegetarian. He said, I was born a vegetarian. He said, now I grow up and I cannot eat meat. He said, I feel so sorry. I wish I could eat meat like other people. So sometimes they're like that. They follow the regulative principles, but they don't follow them for the pleasure of Krishna. They have no sense of devotion to Krishna. And they have no sense, really, of obedience to scriptures. They just do it for their own benefit, for some material benefit. They think for their health, for their material health. They don't care about spiritual health. They're only thinking of the body. Yes, anything else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, their consciousness is revolved around the body. So their activities will always be revolved around the body.
Okay. They're very much in the bodily concept of life. So in the bodily concept of life, they're very attached to the family members, and they think the family members can protect them from all the dangers. They think the family members will save them at the time of death. They'll always be surrounded with the family. One devotee was telling about his father had some disease, and he was dying, and he was saying to his wife, "Can you do something? Can you do something to save me?" And his wife just looked at him and said, "What can I do?" She said, "What can I do to help?" Her husband was pleading with her, "Can you do something to save me?" But the wife at least was realistic. She understood. She said, "I can't do anything." Anyway, this is a Grihamedi mentality. And often they will take the scriptures, or they will take the concept of the Lord, and they will make him into some kind of fictitious character. They will have, or they may even write their own scriptures. Sometimes they do like that. They present their own scriptures, their own interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita and so on. They do things like this. So there are many different symptoms of the Grihamedis. They're very busy, working to get as much money as they can in the daytime, and at night the sexual attachment is very strong. They want to enjoy the body, so there's a lot of demand for the sexual pleasures. So text 2 to 4, Sukadeva starts his answer by explaining what we should not do. We shouldn't do. We shouldn't waste our precious human life. That's important. The human life is rarely achieved, right? 88,400,000 species, and we're only 400,000 species. So human life is very rare. It's a great fortune. And it's even more rare to have association with devotees. So we should value this life. We shouldn't waste our time hearing mundane topics. That's very bad for us also. We can waste a lot of time just hearing nonsense things. Running after money the whole day is also condemned. Everyone needs some money, but everyone gets according to our karma. And just by working hard doesn't mean you make more money. And then sleeping or having sex the whole night, that's also not the way. Taking shelter of fallible soldiers, we spoke about that. The family members, the servants, and so the relatives, the fallible soldiers. Okay, here we can see a nice couple with the young child. They're very happy. So you have to be careful, because we may be blind about these things. We've shown here, this is Prabhupada's lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, first chapter, second verse, is it? Or was it? No, fifth verse. This is from Boston, 1969. So Prabhupada said they are blind. They are thinking that these things will give him protection. Pramata. Pramata means crazy. Crazy. By craziness, he is thinking that these things will give me protection. These things, meaning what? What things will give me protection? Someone?
Family, friends, relatives.
Okay, yes.
Material opulences.
Material opulences. Yeah.
Okay.
And wealth.
Sorry? Okay. Here's the soldiers. We say fallible soldiers. So poor people in the desert there, my goodness, have to be in those. Lectured on the mission, the important mission of human life. Prabhupada describes how the whole day for reading this newspaper or some fiction or some novels for this and that, but they have no Bhagavad Gita. Apashyatam atmatattvam, because they have no interest in self-realization, no interest.
But won't you did?
This is the position. Therefore, this Krishna consciousness movement is essential at the present moment. This is Prabhupada again in Vrindavan, 1974. All right, so the chapter continues. Sukadeva Goswami's preaching what everyone should do. We heard, he told us what we shouldn't do. We shouldn't be what? We shouldn't be Grihamedis. We shouldn't be surrounding ourselves with fallible soldiers. We have to be cautious. We have to be conscious. So Sukadeva, what we should do, we should hear and chant. This is the activity of liberated souls. Sukadeva Goswami describes activities of liberated souls. Who does he give as an example of a liberated soul? Anyone? Have you read the chapter? Did you look over the chapter? Sukadeva Goswami speaks about liberated souls, how they're attracted to hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And he gives an example.
Maharaj, is it, does he give him as an example?
Yes.
Because
right. He gives him, yes, he gives himself as an example, right? We've put here on the slide, you can see text 8 and 9. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna was talking about how a person, the great souls, they will have to do any duty. And Lord Krishna gives himself as an example. He gave Maharaj Sukadeva Goswami, he's giving himself as an example. He said he was also attracted to hear the glories of the Lord. Who did Sukadeva Goswami hear from?
Vyasadeva.
Yes, he heard from Srila Vyasadeva. Yes, Srila Vyasadeva was his guru, he was also his father. Then, qualifications for and benefits from hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Qualification, it's important to understand qualification for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Not everyone is ready, not everyone's prepared. There's certain qualifications required. So Sukadeva Goswami wants to encourage, tells him about the way of success. Maharaj, who is that? Fortune of Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit is fortunate. Why is Maharaj Parikshit fortunate? Anyone know?
Yes, Maharaj. He could hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the great elevated souls like Srila Sukadeva Goswami. And they enter to get delivered.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, because he was protected by the Supreme Lord when he was in the womb of his mother.
Yes. And Sukadeva Goswami may be worried that Maharaj Parikshit may be thinking, I don't have much time. I don't have much time because only 7 days before the curse. I'm going to be bitten by the snake bird after 7 days, so I just have 7 days. So it's a bit of a rush. 7 days, my goodness. We take so long to do Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhava. Sukadeva Goswami has got to preach to Maharaj Parikshit, and they've got to do the whole Srimad Bhagavatam in 7 days. That's really the crash course, right? But Sukadeva Goswami gives an example. What example does he give?
Maharaj Khatvang.
Khatvanga, yes, right, Khatvanga. That Maharaj Khatvanga had only one moment, but he got success. And one moment he got success. So Sukadeva Goswami, by telling about Maharaj Khatvanga, he's encouraging Maharaj Parikshit. You've got 7 days, don't worry. Maharaj Khatvanga only had a moment, but he got success. Yes? So, we want to hear from you. What do you think are the qualifications? What qualification do we need to be a good hearer? What's required?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, we should have strong faith in Krishna.
Well, certainly if you have strong faith, then it will be a help. But what if someone doesn't have strong faith?
We should submissively listen to our spiritual master.
We may not have a spiritual master.
Or to a pure devotee.
Now, when Sukadeva Goswami came there, when Maharaj Parikshit came there, he didn't have a spiritual master, but Sukadeva Goswami came, and so he took that as a blessing, the arrangement of Krishna, that Krishna had sent someone who was also a devotee of Krishna. Now, why did Maharaj Parikshit particularly want a devotee of Krishna to preach to him?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
We should totally surrender. We should totally surrender to the Supreme Personality. And then I think this is a good qualification for ideal hearer. Totally surrender to.
Well, I think if you've totally surrendered, probably you don't need to hear. You're already totally surrendered. Yeah. Well, you're already
One should be
perfect.
inquisitive.
Huh?
One should be inquisitive and submissive.
Yes, we should be inquisitive. Yes. And what did you have? What else did you say? Inquisitive and?
Submissive.
Submissive. Yes. Okay, submissive. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, we have to first find out the authorized source or speaker to hear from. Authorized, and we can put the trust. Then we can become an ideal hearer.
So you want to find the qualified speaker, right?
Yes, yes.
But what's the qualification for the disciple or the hearer? Teacher may be qualified, but the hearer may not be qualified.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
We should have a desire, Maharaj, intense desire to hear the topics of the Lord.
Yes, that's nice. We need that desire. How will we get that desire?
Attentive hearing, Maharaj.
The person should be sincere and should be eager to hear the topics of Lord Krishna.
Yes, he should be eager to hear. Yes?
He shouldn't be a hearer for the sake of hearing, but hearer for the sake of, but for the purpose of being corrected and abiding by what's being told to him.
Yes, he shouldn't just be like coming to hear and then not applying anything. He should actually want to use the knowledge which he's going to receive, right? You mean like that? That he's going
Yes,
to,
Maharaj.
he's actually going to apply what he's hearing.
Should give full attention and respect while hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, he has to give proper respect and attention. That's important. Just like Bhagavad Gita says, Tadvidi pranipatena, right? So we have to fall down, we have to give proper respect in the beginning. So an ideal hearer, he has to be respectful, he has to be willing to hear very carefully and very attentively.
Maharaj, he shouldn't be challenging also.
Right, he should not be challenging. Prabhupada mentions that in Bhagavad Gita.
You should hear with full humility.
Okay, hear with humility.
He should be sincere and serious, Maharaj.
Should be what?
Sincere and serious. Serious in hearing.
Serious and sincere. Okay, should be.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, if the ideal hearer can understand that Srimad Bhagavatam is the book form of the Supreme Lord, it's not different from the Lord, from the Supreme Lord.
Okay.
Then that would be the right qualification. Could be the one.
I should understand the importance of the scripture, the scriptures being presented.
Class.
Ideally, he should not have material, he should not come with material desires, right? He should be materially exhausted. He should be tired of trying to enjoy the material world. He should be ready to give up the attempts to enjoy the material world independently of Krishna. And it's important for us to understand that just as the teacher or the speaker has to be qualified, so the hearer also has to be properly qualified. And if the hearer is holding on to material attachments, then it will be very difficult to actually penetrate the heart of the hearer. You know, sometimes we go and hear, but within our heart we still maintain a lot of material desires and attachments, and we have no intentions of giving them up. That's a problem. If we go to hear, but at the same time we're very attached to holding on to our own conceptions of life, then it makes it very difficult for us to get the real benefit of hearing from the pure devotee. Okay, so some of the qualifications of the hearer or the speaker anyway were mentioned in the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. The qualification of someone like Sutta Goswami, that he was well qualified, that he'd studied the scriptures under the authorized person and he'd realized everything, and he was fully versed in all the different darshans, the different philosophical systems. He knew them all, and he was not only in good knowledge, but he was also a very good character. It's an ideal character. That's also important. Just like an ideal hearer, he should also be of good character. He should be he should be of good character. His mind should be peaceful and controlled. Then he can properly hear. If someone's of loose character, then it will be very difficult for him to hear. All right, so these are some points.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes, Prabhu.
If you can just shed some light on the ideal character of so that it's still clear from.
Sorry?
You said he should be of an ideal character.
Yes.
So, what does an ideal character comprise of?
Well, like as we know, no bad habits. He's not a womanizer, he's not a drunkard. Like that, he has some control over his mind and senses.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, you also mentioned that why did Parikshit Maharaj, you asked this question, why did Parikshit Maharaj want to hear from Sukadeva Goswami?
Yes.
So the answer is it that because he knew that he's a bona fide Guru?
No, the answer was actually that Sukadeva Goswami is a devotee of Krishna, and Maharaj Parikshit, he is also from a family of devotees. That Maharaj Parikshit is the grandson of Arjuna, and Arjuna was a very intimate friend of Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna was always very kind to the Pandavas. So the Pandavas, of course, they were great devotees of Lord Krishna, and Maharaj Parikshit, because his grandparents, the Pandavas, they were all great devotees. Maharaj Parikshit is also inclined to Krishna, and Sukadeva Goswami, being the son of Vyas, he's also a devotee of Krishna, because Vyas is glorified Krishna. So when the two meet, they have something in common, that they're both from the devotee family.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So it's very nice for Maharaj Parikshit to hear from Sukadeva Goswami. Although they have actually materially, they have nothing in common. Because Sukadeva Goswami, he's a he's avadut, he's going around not even covering his body, and he looks like a wild man almost, but he's avadut, he's above the varnashram. And Maharaj Parikshit, he's a Kshatriya from the royal family. So they have really nothing in common. Sukadeva Goswami was born from Vyasa, the son of Vyas, so he was brought up in the ashram, in the countryside, in the remote place, and Maharaj Parikshit is from the royal family with the Pandavas, and brought up in opulence. But now the two have met, because Maharaj Parikshit he gave up everything. As soon as he was cursed, he understood he has to give up everything. He renounced all his material position, all his material wealth. He gave up the throne and everything, and he's preparing for death. So this is a very good qualification of a hearer. He gave up all his attachments. Just like if we have to give class, and people sit there with their hand phones, with their mobile phones in their hand. It won't be much of a class, because people are sitting with their hand phones, they're looking at their phone, and they're thinking, oh, what about that call? Oh, I didn't get that call. Oh, here's this call coming. Oh, I have to get this. The attention is somewhere else. So the ideal hearer, their concentration will be focused. It won't be on the mobile phone. And they won't be on the watch. They won't be looking, what time is it? How long is he going to talk? When's it going to be finished? Right? So, ideal hearer, he'll be focused. He just wants to hear. He's not worried about the time, and he's not distracted. Nothing there distracting him. Is it clear?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead. Harinam Anukirtanam. Srila Sridhar Swami comments that no other method of self-realization can be more beneficial than this. Than what? What's going to be ultimately beneficial? The chanting of the holy name. Jiva Goswami adds a condition. One must avoid nam aparad in order to achieve the ultimate result of chanting. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that among the angas of bhakti, hearing, chanting and remembering are the three chief ones. This has been stated in verse 5. Among these three, chanting is the chief. And such chanting should be anukirtana, constant, following in the footsteps of previous authorities and according to the level of one's realization. So those are some points about the chanting of the holy name. Avoid aparat and try to hear. Then remembrance comes about. Chanting should be anukirtana, constant. And Prabhupada writes, should be loud. Loud chanting, more powerful. Okay, question for you. Partners, how many people do we have in the class?
Maharaj, we have 38.
How many?
37, Maharaj.
Oh, a big class, huh? 37. Okay, can we make partners? Could you make groups? That would be about, what, 19 groups or something? Or 18? One group of 3. Discuss with the partner how to proactively counteract offenses to the holy name. Defenses against nam aparad. How are you going to counteract offenses to the holy name? Write down the main ideas for sharing them with the rest of the class. All right? How many minutes do you need? 5 minutes? Okay, 5 minutes. Yes?
Somebody would, the admin would have to create breakout rooms for us to do that.
Yes, Maharaj, I'm creating breakout rooms.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Maharaj.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Is Dhruv there?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Is there only 2 of us here in the group? Only you and I?
Yes Maharaj, I'm surprised I was put in a group with you, but your mercy.
Okay. So, do you chant regularly?
Yes Maharaj.
How many rounds?
I'm doing 16 rounds Maharaj.
Really? Oh, good. You working?
Yes Maharaj.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember Maharaj, we met you, I met you in Mayapur as well as in China when we had traveled. You were doing program in the temple in Hong Kong there. So, and we met you there.
Really, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. It's been a while. That is long time back. But
yeah, it's a long time ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm. So you're working now, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
In Dubai?
In Dubai, yes, ma'am. I've always been here. I've grown up here.
Okay. Are you studying part-time? What happened? Oh. Hare Krishna.
Recording in progress.
Group number?
I'll assign you to the group 13, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's back?
Maharaj, another 2 minutes, Maharaj.
Okay, another 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, sorry I was transferred by the admin to the other group, yeah? So while you were saying something.
Oh, yeah. I wondered what happened. I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't have control over that.
Okay. Anyway, nice to see you here.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Have you been studying all the way through? You did the whole first canto?
Yes, Maharaj. Most of it.
Maharaj, everyone is back.
Okay, everyone's back. So we'd like to hear some response from the devotees. Who would like to tell us what you discussed? Yes? Some volunteer?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Uh-huh.
Maharaj, we discussed that, when we serve the Vaishnavas, then this is one of the ways to counteract Namaprad. And also, before we start chanting, we have to prepare our consciousness by absorbing ourselves. Like if we can hear a lecture or maybe we can read. So that way, when we are chanting, mind will, we can bring our mind back to hearing the chanting. And also, I feel if we put up pictures on the wall, or if we look at the pictures, so that also helps us to concentrate on the chanting. And another thing I feel is when one of the Srila Prabhupada's disciples told Srila Prabhupada that he couldn't, his mind wanders, Prabhupada said, what is the problem? You just have to listen to your chanting. So I have personally also tried to imbibe that, just listen very carefully to each and every word of my chanting. So,
okay. But what's your secret in listening? How do you manage to get your mind, to focus your mind to just hear your chanting? How do you do that? Because that's a difficult thing, to fix the mind.
Yes, sometimes Maharaj, it works because I try to say it out aloud and I try to say it very clearly.
Okay. Does it take you a long time to say all your rounds? How long do you take to chant one round?
Maharaj, sometimes it does take me a long time, sometimes I feel it doesn't.
Okay, if you have time. Are you a housewife?
Yes, Maharaj.
So maybe you have more time during the day to chant?
Yes, I do have during the day.
Okay. All right. I think one point, you were saying about pictures. Some people, what they like to do is to put the Maha Mantra on the wall. Have the whole Maha Mantra put in the form of a picture and put it on the wall. And then when they chant, then they can be reading the Maha Mantra.
Yes, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
So my partner was Shubhangi Radhika. So we both were discussing together. And so the first point that we discussed was that how to counteract these 10 naam aparad, 10 offenses. So we read them every day. We remind us that we do not have to commit these 10 offenses. Like we have a practice in ISKCON also, right, in the morning.
Right.
So for that, how, like Mataji also mentioned about japa, we also discussed more about that how we can have concentrated japa. So for that, maybe I won't repeat the points that is already she has said. So apart from that, what we discussed was that our timing, if our timing is good, like recommended in the Brahma Muhurat, so that will also help us. And second point is that if we also chant in association,
yes.
Like if you are a group doing together, the vibration, the concentration is more. it definitely helps us. Or we could be in front of our altar, we could have Tulsi Maharani, and if in a little low voice, Prabhupada chanting also. Side by side, you can chant with Prabhupada as well.
Okay. Yes, these are good points. Very nice. Yes. Association. Chant with associate, particularly if you can get association with senior Vaishnavas, to chant with them is very helpful.
And one more point that we noted was reading Srila Prabhupada's books on a regular basis, which will increase our faith more and also our taste more for the holy name to chant.
All right.
So regularly.
Good. Reading,
Thank you, Maharaj.
Reading, we should know the philosophy, then will help us to have more taste for the holy name. And also, one lady, the Mataji was mentioning about, she said, read before you chant japa. Well, it's sometimes good to offer a prayer before you chant japa. There's some prayers which we can chant. Just like, we also say Shikshastikam prayers. That can also be a nice prayer. And then there's Namastikam, you can chant also. There's different prayers which we can offer to the holy name to pray that we may chant properly. Or we could just simply pray make up our own prayers as well. Pray to Krishna that please help me to fix my mind, let me chant properly and attentively, to focus on the holy name. Okay, very good. We have some...
Hare Krishna.
Yes?
Maharaj, we have to also understand that the holy name of the Lord is not different from the Lord himself. So when we are chanting the holy name, we are calling out to the Lord and asking him to engage us in his service, so that the desire to engage in the service should be pure, so that when we chant, we are more focused on our chanting.
Yes, yes, we do want to focus on the chanting. So it's very good. We want to be pure. We need to be focused on the chanting. We have to control the mind. Here, you can see we mentioned here, the inattention, the main offense, inattention. Right? When we chant the 10 offenses, at the end we also say, it is also offensive to be inattentive while chanting. In the Harinam Chintamani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes this inattention to be the seed of all the 10 offenses. From inattention, the other offenses come. It's the main offense. So here, it's from Harinam Chintamani, Haridas spoke to Lord Chaitanya. Inattention is counted as one of the aparads. Even if one successfully overcomes all the other offenses in chanting, and one is chanting continuously, love of God may not come. One should know that the reason for this is that one is committing the offense known as pramada, or inattention. This offense will block progress to prem. So we won't get to prem so long as we are inattentive. We have to overcome inattention. The antidote to an uncontrolled mind. But there is a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. You may have read that sentence. It's in the purport of Queen Kunji's prayers, which means 8th chapter, text number 26. Prabhupada's talking about the chanting of the holy name, and said there is a quality to utterances. It depends on the quality of feeling. And how should we chant? What was Prabhupada's instruction? What should be our mood in chanting? Do you remember?
The cry of a baby to her mother.
Right, yes. Do you have a child?
Yes, Maharaj.
So you know what the crying of the baby is like, huh? You know what it's like.
Maharaj.
So we should, when we chant, we should have that kind of mood. That's a quality of feeling. Effort. We have to make everything, there has to be some effort. Effort is the gateway from Namaparad to Namabhas. Right? Stages in chanting. If we can get to Namabhas, that's very good. Unless we extend our best efforts earnestly and qualify ourselves for the Lord's mercy, it is next to impossible that we can be rescued from our fallen condition. So we have to really want mercy. We have to really want to get out. And then from Srimad Bhagavatam, revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. So this is the challenge we face. We have to really satisfy Krishna. And when Krishna is really satisfied with us, then he will give us the ability to chant the holy name. And here's some more points. Physiology, meaning the body, affects psychology. The body affects the mind. Notice how your mind is affected when you chant while moving your eyes around the room, or you chant while closing your eyes or staring at an object. You chant while sitting calmly. You chant while moving or shaking your body. Chant while sitting straight with your bead bag over your heart. Chant while passionately walking around the room. You get all these different things. It's all going to affect our mind. Different situations, different positions we're in. What to do? Create a favorable lifestyle for chanting the holy name. A favorable lifestyle has a lot to do with how successfully we're able to chant the holy name. It's really true. If we can get our life organized in such a way, it can make it so much easier for us to chant the holy name. So what good habits could we incorporate in our life in order to improve our japa? One of them was already mentioned. Someone spoke about Brahma Muhurta, getting up early in the morning, waking up early in the morning before sunrise, so that you could chant in the morning. It's very good. Waking up regularly, the same time every morning, so you have proper time to chant the holy name. Good habits.
Maharaj, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, we can also, the time we are dedicating to chanting, we can consciously avoid any other external factors like mobile phones or talking to anyone. Just dedicate that time to as me and Krishna time, so me and japa time, that no one else gets to interfere in that time, unless it's really important or urgency. But until then, it has to be just a very dedicated personal time to Krishna. To have that consciousness is a good habit also.
And how do you do it? Turn off your mobile phone, is it?
Yeah.
That's one thing, turn off your mobile phone. And what about where do you chant? Where to chant?
Ideally in front of the altar or Tulsi Maharani.
Okay, yes, in front of the altar, Tulsi Maharani. Can we go for a walk?
I mean, yes, we do, but then it's not going to help having good habits, because we'll be constantly distracted.
Yeah, it depends where you walk. It depends how many people are around, where you go for a walk. And the Prabhupada did like to go for a morning walk. Now, of course, he didn't do it for his japa. It was the doctor told him you should go for a walk. It'd be good for your heart. So Prabhupada started going for a walk. And he'd walk fast.
Maharaj, that's why the morning hours are the best, to get up at the Brahma and then walk in the temple room and chant.
Is that what you do every day?
Yeah, get up early and in my temple room only walk and chant.
Okay, good, very good, yes. Especially if you have children, you want to try to get up before the children, and then you have time to chant. Because once the children get up, the children need your time, they need your attention.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
I rather prefer to chant with my children because it gives more, concentration for me, looking at them and then, going with the bead bag and sitting before the altar along with my children.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I feel good.
You can chant 16 rounds like that?
Yes, but sometimes, yes, I can continue until 16, but sometimes, children will chant up to 8 and then if they're going for school and then they come back to chant the remaining set of rounds, I can do the extra rounds as well with them. But I prefer to do with my children, especially my son.
Okay. Your children are saintly. They like to chant. Very good. When I spoke about children, I meant young children, very small children who are more restless.
Yeah.
Very young children, young babies and so on like that, they need the attention. And if children going off to school, maybe you have to pack their prasadam for them to take to school, I don't know. Things to be done. But anyway, you're very fortunate if you can chant with your children. Very nice. Anybody else, some good habits to improve our japa?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. We can chant along with the audio of Srila Prabhupada or my Guru Maharaj. So that helps.
Okay, you like to chant? You can keep pace. Keep pace with Prabhupada or your Guru Maharaj chanting. Keep up with them. Chant at their speed.
And also, I write write Hare Krishna Mahamantra on a paper, and that way not a single syllable is missed. Like if you see the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and chant, so we can chant exactly.
Yeah, I mentioned that people can put it up on the wall, print it up on the wall, have it in big letters, then you can read it and chant. Bharijan Prabhu mentions that also in his japa book. Okay, well go ahead.
Maharaj, just one more point. My Guru Maharaj always says that you prepare yourself a day before. That you have to get up in the morning, so you have to sleep early, so you're not sleepy. And if you can read something, because ultimately, like we say, we have to hear the Mahamantra. Then that hearing can lead to Smaranam, right? Not that artificially we have to focus on some leelas, but then if you have read something, automatically while chanting also, you're not just, you're doing some Smaranam also could come to you. So my Guru Maharaj says that you prepare yourself a day before for your japa. You read something about Krishna, like Prabhupada said, read Krishna book before sleeping.
Yes.
And then sleeping on time, because I asked my Guru Maharaj once, it's so difficult to get up in the morning each day. He said, no, it's not difficult to get up early. It's difficult to sleep early. So if you sleep early, you can get up early.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Okay, very nice. Alighting your life with the holy name. What do you do outside of your 16 rounds that nourishes your japa? And what do you do outside 16 rounds that hinders your japa? So there's different activities. Some activities will nourish your japa and some will hinder. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Like one habit which I have developed is that writing Hare Krishna Mahamantra as many times as during my when I get time. So repeatedly writing Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that will keep my mind like fully in Krishna conscious and always think of Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Okay.
And each and every syllable. And that will really help me and nourish me the next day japa also and the current day japa.
Okay, very nice. Okay, you like to write the Mahamantra down many times? Yeah, I know people who do that, other people. Every new piece of paper, every new sheet of paper, they must put the Mahamantra on the top of the page. Every new piece of paper, always the Mahamantra goes first. Okay, other things we can do. One thing, nourish your japa, Sankirtan. Go for Sankirtan. That will help your japa also. Hinder your japa, things that will hinder your japa, watching television, watching movies, reading newspapers, mundane talk, all these things, prajalpa, will hinder your japa. Okay?
Sorry, Maharaj, what did you mention about nourish your japa? Sorry, Maharaj.
Huh?
What did you mention for nourishing your japa?
Nourishing japa, I said Sankirtan. Go for Sankirtan. Harinam Sankirtan. Very good for your japa. Of course, reading Srimad Bhagavatam is also good. But Sankirtan, street Sankirtan, very nice. And hinder your japa, all the nonsense. All right, going ahead here. Nirnitam, deciding truth. According to Srila Sukadeva Goswami, this way of attaining success is an established fact, concluded not only by him, but also by all other previous acharyas. Therefore, there is no need of further evidence. This is the purport of text number 11, the first chapter. The way of attaining success is an established fact. It's not only for Sukadeva Goswami telling Maharaj Parikshit, but all the previous acharyas. There's no need of further evidence. It's not like we have to, oh, are you sure this is the right way? Are you sure we have to do like this? There's no need. This is the process. Hearing and chanting the holy name is confirmed by all the acharyas. There's nothing greater. All right, one problem which comes up sometimes, blasphemy. Dealing with blasphemy. Quoting from the Markandeya Purana, Sri Goswami Ji says that one should neither blaspheme the devotee of the Lord, nor indulge in hearing others who are engaged in belittling a devotee of the Lord. A devotee should try to restrict the vilifier by cutting out his tongue, and being unable to do so, one should commit suicide rather than hear the blaspheming of the devotee of the Lord. This is from text number 12 of the first chapter, from the purport. How to deal with blasphemy. So it happens sometimes, we're in this Kali Yuga, and there are people who are not very pleasant, and they often may blaspheme the devotees, and they don't want to hear, they don't want to chant, and they may be very critical of devotees. Belittling devotees, that happens, people laugh and try to make fun of devotees sometimes. So how to deal with this kind of blasphemy? If someone's very blasphemous, some people can be really blasphemous, really offensive. So how are we meant to deal with this? Cutting out his tongue? Well, that's going to be, you're going to get really violent to do something like that. To cut out someone's tongue, it's really not the activity of a devotee, is it? What about committing suicide? Well, we don't want to do that either, because we need devotees. We don't want to lose our devotees. So what is the proper procedure in confronting people who are blasphemous? How should we deal with them? Does someone like to tell me?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. We should vacate that place itself.
Okay, we should leave the place?
Yes, Maharaj. We should not hear any blasphemy also, and as we cannot do any physical harm, so it's better to leave that place.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu.
Maharaj, first of all, we should humbly request the other devotee that if we can avoid this, because it's not helping us or him, either of us in our spiritual life. In case the blaspheming devotee doesn't, listen to us, then it's better to leave that place with all due respect, showing that we are not very accommodating to the fact of hearing Vaishnava blasphemy.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, maybe we can, while it's being blasphemed, we can on the other side start glorifying the devotee and bringing out his good qualities to counteract the blasphemy.
Yeah, you could try. They may become more blasphemous though. You're trying to bring out the good qualities, they may try to bring out more bad qualities. That's the problem there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, probably we can tell the person who's doing this that there are much more interesting, in Krishna conscious life to talk about, and also, also tell the magnanimity of the Lord, how Lord is accepting all of us when we all are doing a lot of mistakes and we are not able to, pardon, or, we've been very little in looking at those mistakes. We can be a little bit, have a broader perspective, or don't show interest in all of this. There are much more to focus. So maybe that we can bring out in a very, very humble way again.
What you're talking about, appealing to the blasphemer.
Yes, and tell them that, there are much more, wonderful to talk about the pastimes of the Lord, rather than indulging in little talks like this. Maybe we can give it to him.
Well, it could be challenging, could be very difficult. The problem...
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yeah, it is all because of the modes, the nature. Only the devotees, they behave like this. So we can pray to the Lord, at least they could, they can be in a better devotee that we can involve with.
Generally, we think of the Madhyama Adhikari, the intermediate devotee, and how he deals with different people, right? He offers his worship to the Supreme Lord, and he will take association with the devotees, with his peers, and he will give mercy to the innocent. But for the atheistic and the blasphemer, he will avoid them. He will avoid them. He won't try to give instruction. It's not recommended to try to give instruction because they just become more offensive. If you try to, try to explain something to them, They've just become more offensive. They're already can be, they are already blasphemous, and if they commit more blasphemy, it may be our fault, because you know we've encouraged them, we've agitated them even more, and they become even more offensive and blasphemous. So we have to be very careful in dealing with these kinds of people. So the Madhyama Adhikari generally they will simply avoid that person. They don't want to be around him. All right, and then.
Maharaj, can I ask a question?
Yes, okay.
Maharaj, how do we? We understand that blasphemy is wrong, but let's if the blasphemer is a devotee who has done something wrong, and if a discussion is happening about what has been wrong, is that blasphemy also?
Well, it can increase, it can become blasphemous. It can increase. If the person becomes more offensive, then it can be our fault.
Okay, so ideally we should just avoid any sort of discussion which can lead to blasphemy.
Right. Better just to avoid.
Thank you.
That's the safest way. Unless one is like an Uttama Adhikari, you know, that you can convert the blasphemous person into a devotee. You know, it's really difficult. You know, we're not Uttama Adhikaris, we're not quite on that level that we can convince everyone to just change their opinions about things and make them into devotees. It's not so easy.
So, Prabhuji, Maharaj, so is this understanding okay that if we think that, okay, this person should meet with an Uttamadhikari, preferably, so that might help him? Because ultimately his mental state is not good, so, or he's not doing fair with his life. So if we cannot do anything, then at least he or she, we should at least help him or her in meeting an Uttamadhikari.
But
would that be a good approach?
They may not take the help from the Uttama Adhikari. Uttama Adhikari, they see that everyone is already a devotee. One who is on the topmost level, they see everyone is already serving Krishna. Everyone is already in their situation. And they don't worry. That's why they don't preach generally, Uttama Adhikaris. They won't preach. But if an Uttama Adhikari is going to preach, he will come down to the Madhyam level. And to preach, he will make distinction.
Maharaj, in this regard, what we can do is we can pray for the devotee, right? We can pray to Krishna for that devotee.
Well, the person who is blaspheming is not really a devotee, but the blasphemer is usually not a devotee. The blasphemer is some atheistic, envious person. But he's blaspheming devotees, he's criticizing devotees. But he himself is not a devotee. Generally, the people who criticize the devotees, they're the materialists, and they're the atheists, and they blaspheme the devotees.
But then they could be chanting 16 rounds. They could be initiated.
Well, if they're doing that, they won't be. Usually, you won't get people who are doing that they will be blasphemous. That's very unusual. If somebody's chanting 16 rounds and following and if he's initiated, he won't be. Usually, they won't be so blasphemous. The blasphemy usually comes from people who are not devotees. But it may happen. It could happen. Somebody may somehow he's developed a very critical mood, and it does happen. We get people who are very critical, even they're devotees, and they become very critical of other devotees. So they need, if they've been devotees in the past and somehow they've become very critical, they need to get good association. Yeah, they need to actually get good association with somebody who they can respect and somebody who they can actually hear from. Now, we've seen that sometimes in our Krishna consciousness movement. Sometimes devotees were having difficulty and they were very critical. But then, a very senior devotee comes by and he invites them, come and stay with me and come and be with me. And they'll go with him and they'll spend time with him. And he can, just by being with him and hearing from him, they can be changed and they can give up their criticism and their blasphemy. It does happen. So good association can really help people who are devotees. But people who are not devotees, who are blasphemous, then that's more difficult. Okay? We have to be...
Hare Krishna. Maharaj?
Yes?
Maharaj, sometimes a devotee may have a genuine concern, or they may be sharing an unpleasant situation that they had with another devotee. So does that also count for blasphemy? Because they are just sharing what happened to them, and they may be, they may have been at the receiving end of things, so they may be hurt, and they're just sharing it with somebody else. So does that count for blasphemy?
Well, it may do. We should be cautious. We should be very cautious to talk about some things like that. Rather, something happens to us, it's not something which we want to go around and tell other people about, this happened to me, what happened to me, This is not really the business of devotees. What we want to talk about more is Krishna consciousness, talk about the Lord and His pastimes. If something may have happened to us which was not very agreeable, which was not very pleasant, but generally it's better for us to just be tolerant and to think, I must have deserved it, I must have done something in the past. Just like Prabhupada was giving a lecture, and in the middle of the lecture one man stood up and he began to criticize and yell and scream at Prabhupada, and then he walked out. And Prabhupada just said to the devotees, he said, I must have offended him in my previous life. So something happens to us which is not pleasant, we had some problem. Okay, we have to be tolerant, and we have to understand the material worlds like this. There's always challenges. And see these things like a test from Krishna. To be Krishna conscious and to tolerate all the difficulties. You don't want to be dwelling on it. Oh, what happened to me? What they did to me? Oh, and I suffered. It's not good to talk about these things. It's not helping our Krishna consciousness. It's better not to talk about these things. Better to just leave it. Just accept it. But if you talk about it, then you get feelings about it, you get a grudge about it, why this happened, and they shouldn't have done that, and it doesn't create the right mood, you see. As devotees, we want to be very cautious about talking about these different things. It's actually prajalpa. It's not so much blasphemy, but it's more prajalpa. It's not valuable talk. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
All right, we're going ahead. We have the example. You know, I was talking about Maharaj Parikshit, that he had 7 days to prepare. So Sukadeva Goswami may be worried that, he may be thinking it's not much time. So Sukadeva Goswami gave the example of Maharaj Gatvanga. That Maharaj Gatvanga had only a moment to prepare. But it was enough. It was enough time for him. Right? Who can tell me the story about Maharaj Gatvanga? Who knows the whole story, can tell?
Maharaj, can I say?
Okay, go ahead.
So the demigods asked Maharaj Katvanga to fight with them on their behalf against demons. And he fought against them for a very long time. And when it was time for him to come back to the earth, they were so pleased with him, they asked him that if they could give him any material boon. And he didn't want any material boon. He just said that, I wish to know how much longer do I have to live. And they said 1 moment more, which is, I think, 48 minutes as per Earth time. And so he gave up everything because he knew that in those 48 minutes or so, he had to become or achieve perfection. So he dedicated himself to going back to Godhead.
Okay. So Maharaj Gatvanga, I don't know, I never heard this 48 minutes before. This, I guess that's it. You'd 1 moment of heavenly time is 48 minutes on this planet, is it?
Yes, Maharaj. I read it somewhere.
Oh, really? I don't know. It's not there in the Bhagavatam. Anyway, Maharaj Gatvanga, he was already detached. That's the point, that he'd already detached himself. So it didn't take him a long time to prepare, because he was already detached. He'd been fighting on behalf of the demigods, as Maharaji said, and so he was already mentally detached from the world. And so when he heard he had a moment, he could immediately fix his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord, and he got perfection. Now, if we heard we have a moment, it might be a panic for us. But he had mentally prepared himself, you could say, by the mood of service, by selfless service on behalf of the demigods. He'd become detached. And so when he heard he had a moment's time, then it was not a problem for him to give up the body. And Maharaj Sukadeva Goswami is encouraging Maharaj Parikshit that Gatvanga Maharaj could do it in a moment's time. You have 7 days, so you shouldn't be a problem. You should also be able to go back to Godhead. Maharaj Parikshit had also given up everything. He left everything to come and sit and hear and just simply prepare for the end of his life. And so he showed his willingness to give up everything, to leave everything behind. You see materialistic people, they're so attached. They don't want to leave everything. I can't. They don't want to give up anything. They want to keep everything with them. They never want to leave. But we see the example from Srimad Bhagavatam, how these great souls prepared to leave the body. Jananivas Prabhu here in Mayapur, he will often say that Srimad Bhagavatam is the art of dying. You know, there's that other group, the art of we're the art of dying, how to prepare for death. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, better a moment of full consciousness than a long life of illusion. better a moment of full consciousness. And Prabhupada talks that the tree may live a long time. The trees live can hundreds of years even. But what is the value of a lifetime like a tree? He says Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in this world 48 years, Shankaracharya 32 years, but great contributions. And so better a moment of full consciousness than a long life of illusion. People are attached to long life. They want to live a long time. What is the value? Markandeya Rishi lived a long time. He found it to be a trouble. All right. What is this? Oh, sorry. What happened? Okay, here we are. So we ask you, better a moment of full consciousness than a long life of illusion. Evaluate the above statement with other scriptural evidences. Discuss the import of this statement. Anybody wants to comment further on that? Or can we just go ahead? I think I've covered pretty much the import of the statement. Prabhupada would quote Chanakya Pandit about time. He said you can buy time, you can buy gold, but you cannot buy time for any amount of gold. So time is more valuable than gold. In dealing with blasphemy, this is from the Nectar of Devotion. There are 3 ways of dealing with such insults. If someone is heard blaspheming by words, one should be so expert that he can defeat the opposing party by argument. If he is unable to defeat the opposing party, then the next step is that he should not just stand there meekly, but should give up his life. The third process is followed if he is unable to execute the above-mentioned 2 processes, and that is that one must leave the place and go away. If a devotee does not follow any of the above-mentioned 3 processes, he falls down from his position of devotion. So generally we go away. Offending devotees. Who are you offending? What is causing you to make offenses or be critical of the devotees? What attitude must you adopt to stop being critical? What must you change within yourself to adopt these proper attitudes? So these are the questions we can ask yourself. If we have the habit, maybe we're worried about offending devotees. Who are you offending? Are we offending the devotees? We should be conscious of that. The devotees are very dear to Krishna. What is causing us to make offenses or be critical of the devotees? Why are we doing it? Maybe it's our own envy. Maybe we're jealous of their success or something. What attitude must we adopt to stop being critical? Well, we could start looking at ourselves instead of looking at others. Be critical of ourselves. What must you change within yourself to adopt these proper attitudes? We have to change the false ego. We should consider it to be, we should think it's not our duty to be critical or to find faults with others. we should be critical of ourselves. The proper attitude is to think, I am very fallen. The more advanced one is, the more one will be humble and consider himself fallen. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj says, I am more sinful than Jagai and Madhai. I am lower than a worm in stool. Anyone who utters my name, they become sinful. And anyone who hears my name, they lose all their pious activities. Only the mercy of Lord Nityananda could deliver such a fallen soul as myself. So that's Krishna Das Kaviraj. And Prabhupada says when these devotees talk like that, they actually mean it. They're not just saying it. They really mean it. So, humility. The conclusion is one should neither hear nor allow vilification of a devotee of the Lord. We should not hear and we should not allow others to criticize devotees. Alright, so just to overview what we covered tonight, we've been speaking about, first of all, the connection between the first and second cantos. Someone can tell me what was the connection between the first and second canto? Yes, Prabhu? Is there a Prabhu there who can tell me the connection between the first and second canto? Dhruv. Dhruv Prabhu. Dhruv Advaya.
Yes, Maharaj, was it? It was a question.
Yeah, what was the question?
It was about Sukadeva Goswami talking to Parikshit Maharaj.
Yes. What was the question? What question did Parikshit have?
Asking about how we can achieve perfection.
Okay. Yes, particularly, what was the special circumstances of Maharaj Parikshit?
That he has 7 days, right?
Yeah, he has 7 days to live. So how does he get perfection in 7 days? What does he have to do? What's his duty for one who is about to die? Right? And so that's the connection. The second canto begins discussing the duty of one who is about to die. Have we had a look at the overview of the second canto? Okay. Summarize the essence of Sukadeva Goswami's answer to Parikshit Maharaj's question. Never forget Krishna, always remember Krishna. That's the important thing. You're about to die, you want to train your mind to remember Krishna. That's the whole point. Then Prabhupada's mood and mission. The following phrases reflect Srila Prabhupada's mission. Lokahitam. Lokahitam in the very first verse. Beneficial for all men. Beneficial, not only all men, all people, all living entities. Beneficial to the whole planet. What is beneficial? Maharaj Parikshit's question. The question of Maharaj Parikshit was beneficial because from that one question, the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. From one question, 18,000 slokas came. So this is beneficial for the whole planet, for all the living entities. Everyone benefits by the speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam. And that speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam came about just by Maharaj Parikshit's question. Alright, and then apashyatam atma tattvam. Therefore, this Krishna consciousness movement is essential at the present moment. Apashyatam atma tattvam. The people who are blind to Atma Tattva. They don't want, they're busy in all their maya, all their nonsense, all their prajalpa. And they're busy with the Grihamedi life. So the Krishna consciousness movement is very important. Because people are so jealous and envious of each other, not only at the family level, at the international level, the nations, they're envious of each other. War is going on between nations. One nation is envious of another nation. It's all based on this because people don't want to hear the science of the soul. They're all absorbed in the body. They're all hearing the nonsense about material life. Okay, then we spoke about the Bhagavatam's description of materialistic life. We heard about the Grihamedis, their business, how they're busy working so hard. They always want to make money, more money, have to get more money. And they'll work in the most dangerous situations. And they'll go and work in the most horrible places just to get money. One lady I know, she's in Russia, she told me, and she's a teacher actually, and she told me she took the job to go and work in this part of Russia where it's 6 months of darkness and 6 months of light. It's way up in the very north of Russia. It's way up like near the North Pole, you know. So it's extremely cold, you know. And then you get 6 months darkness and then 6 months light. And so even in the daytime it's dark. And pay more. The government pay more because nobody wants to go there and work. So people do these kind of jobs. Of course, this lady, she's a devotee, and she's little, so that's nice. But other people, they have terrible jobs. You know, we met this one man, bombs. Sometimes they discover bombs, and his job is to go in to defuse the bombs. And so it's very dangerous. Sometimes a bomb will go off, and the man can be killed. And there was another man, his job is climbing on the buildings, big skyscraper buildings. He has to go around the building, look on the outside of the buildings and look at the cracks in the building to see if the building's falling apart. Very dangerous. Some of the jobs which people have, you know, they do it just for money, to get money, even at the cost of their own life. Of course, people work horrible situations, they breathe horrible fumes just to get money. This is materialistic life. So Srimad Bhagavatam tells us about these people, the Grihamedis. Okay, then we spoke about how to defend oneself against nam aparad. How to protect yourself against nam aparad. Loud chanting. Wake up early in the morning. More chanting. Chant in good association. Go to temple room. Try to chant these things. And hear also the philosophy. And before chanting, offer prayers to help us to chant nicely. Have a prayerful mood. Chant like a child separated from the mother. All of these things. Plan how to create a favorable lifestyle for chanting. Yeah, we covered that. Favorable lifestyle for chanting. Put down your mobile phone, turn off your mobile phone. Keep all the things to distract you out of the way. You don't want to try to chant around where you've got a lot of things cluttering around. Try to get in a nice empty place. Sometimes it's good even to go out to the park and just chant in the forest with the trees or something. Identify the qualities of an ideal hearer of Bhagavatam. The qualities, they'll be very focused on hearing. When they come to Bhagavatam, they're not tired. They're not going to go to sleep. They're not tired. They're very careful and they're very attentive. They're very focused. They're not thinking about the business or about the sports or the cricket match or anything. They're focused. They want to hear Bhagavatam. Their real business is to hear Bhagavatam. And then we spoke about the example of Sukadeva Goswami. As an impersonalist, he was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. And because he heard the pastimes of the Lord, he became a devotee. Even though he was an impersonalist, he was attracted because the topics of Krishna are so attractive that even someone who's on the platform of Brahmajyoti, they can be attracted to hear about Krishna. This was also mentioned from the Atmarama Sloka. It's also there in the lifestyle of Sukadeva Goswami and the four Kumaras, how they were attracted. And then the application of the guidelines for dealing with blasphemy in a contemporary context. So it may be good association, the very best association with senior devotees can help, or it may just be simply keep away and don't try to agitate things more. Don't disturb, don't give the person more opportunity to blaspheme. Okay.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes?
It's mentioned that Shukadev was an impersonalist and he was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, that he became a devotee.
Yes.
So, how do we understand that he was an impersonalist? Because I think there is a backstory to his, before he took birth. He heard it from, I think, he was a parrot and he heard this conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati, who was reciting the Bhagavatam, and and he was there. So there's this whole story. So if he heard the Bhagavatam, how could he have been an impersonalist?
Well, that story which you're talking about, that's a Puranic story. It's not, we don't see that in Prabhupada's writing anywhere, the story about the parrot and stuff. It is there, it's a Puranic pastime, but generally, that Sukadeva Goswami was an impersonalist. It means he was fixed on the platform of Brahman. And it's a Leela which shows us the power of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. The important point is that by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, the impersonalist or someone on the platform of the Brahman, like Sukadeva Goswami, can be attracted and become devotee. It's to show us the power of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that it can change the Brahmagyani into a devotee. All right? Are there any other questions? Any other questions, anybody? No? Then we will finish here tonight and we will be back on Thursday. And we'll continue with the first chapter and we'll go through the first chapter on Thursday. All right, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.